Well, hey there, and welcome to this lesson of the church video series. Today we are talking about common DSLR problems, what they are, how they happen, and how to work around them. DSLR cameras are amazing for video footage. When they came out, they literally revolutionized the consumer scene because people like you and I now had access to cameras that shot video footage that people had never seen before at that price point. However, they do come with their negative side effects, and in all honesty, I probably could have made 3 different videos on all of these problems, but that would just be too negative. And I like being positive, so I put all the negative problems into one video. I also would like to say that I don't like discussing particular problems that have to do with certain cameras because of the high turnover rate. Camera bodies, they're here today, they're gone tomorrow. New ones just keep getting released every single year, and they always, are upping the ante. Like I said, the Blackmagic cinema cameras are now out and they have much higher quality than DSLRs at prices that are very similar or even lower in some cases. And very soon DSLRs are going to be a thing of the past. But with that being said, I know that a lot of the subscribers to Pro Church Tools, even me currently, are still using DSLRs. And so because of that, we're going to discuss the problems they have and how to destroy those problems. Problem number 1, aliasing. Remember, DSLRs were made primarily to shoot still photos. In fact, video was an afterthought for most of the big name companies. And because of this, the sensor within your camera is actually 5 times the size of a typical 1080p shot or typical high definition video. And so the way that your camera shoots video is that it downsizes from the full sensor to 1080p, and the way it does that is that it throws out certain lines of the image. It just discards the data. And so when you have a really fine pattern, like the fine pattern of a shirt or the fine pattern of bricks on a building, instead of getting that nice pattern, you get these ugly diagonal lines, and that's called aliasing. Here's an example. This is from the photo shoot I did for this site. On the left we have me, happy and smiling. But when we downsize me on the right, you can see the pattern on my shirt becomes all jagged and ugly. This is aliasing. And while there are smart ways of downsizing within Photoshop to avoid aliasing, DSLR cameras just don't have the processing power necessary to accomplish this. They have to go the fast track, which leaves us with aliasing. The best way to combat this is to turn down the sharpness in your picture style. Now, this won't eliminate it completely, but it will definitely help. Problem number 2, rolling shutter. Rolling shutter happens when you make really fast pans with your DSLR. A lot of people call it Jello cam because when you look at the footage, it looks all jiggly like Jello. I've embedded a video below from a Vimeo user to show you exactly what rolling shutter looks like. It's hard to explain, but it's easy to recognize once you've seen it. If you want to avoid rolling shutter or Jello cam with your DSLR, it's very simple. Just don't make those very fast, super quick movements. I've never had to make them myself. I don't really see the purpose in them for a lot of the stuff I do. And if you want to avoid it, just don't do those, because if you do, there's really no way around it. It's gonna happen. Problem number 3, overheating. Remember, like I said before, DSLRs were made to shoot photos. They weren't made to shoot video. And when you start treating them like they were made to shoot video, you're gonna run into the problem of overheating, unfortunately. Overheating usually happens when you've been shooting for a long time, continuously without stopping. I used to run into this problem a lot, in fact, when I was shooting video announcements on the Canon T3i. What would happen was either I would get a message saying recording has stopped automatically from my camera, or the image would become just noisier and noisier as the camera continued to overheat. The reason that overheating is such a big problem for church people like us is because of the types of things we generally tend to shoot. It's either video announcements, or it's a church service, it's a testimony, it's a baptism, and all of these tend to have long running times. And that's why overheating can be a big problem for us. The way that I worked around the overheating issue was that I purchased a Panasonic GH2. Now, a GH2 isn't technically a DSLR, and that enabled me to have a workaround the overheating problem. But if you are shooting with a DSLR and you want to keep shooting church services, baptisms, testimonies, things like that, the best option is to have 2 different camera bodies. When one of them overheats, the other doesn't, and you can switch back and forth between the shots in post-production. Now, obviously, this isn't the most ideal solution, but this is one of the drawbacks if you want to shoot with a DSLR and get that beautiful filmic-like footage. And herein lies the decision you're gonna have to make. Do I want the flexibility of a camcorder and to have the ugly looking home video footage? Or do I want the restrictions and problems of a DSLR but still have that beautiful film footage? And for me, while this was a hard decision, I had to go with the DSLR because what's most important to me is the image quality, and I was willing to find workarounds and little tricks and tips to fix these problems, but what you can't fix is ugly looking footage from a camcorder, and that was the bottom line for me. But if you remember, as I mentioned in a previous lesson, new cameras are constantly coming on the market. The turnover rate of camera bodies is insane, and with that is coming new features at lower price points and even better options for us. So very soon, you and I as church workers can have our cake and eat it too. Well, that's all for me in this lesson of the church video series on common DSLR problems. I hope that this has been helpful and you can find ways to work around these common DSLR problems and still find ways to capture the footage that you want. Of course, if you want to learn more about church video, church media, head over to prochurchtools.com and you can get your very own Pro Church Toolkit to get you started. And I will see you guys next week.